around us, as we've discussed already. But number two, and I think this is more of an important point, which is that it doesn't benefit us as human beings as to what our objective in this life is, right? So even if, hypothetically speaking, I was now to stand there and articulate this to you, how to understand free will and predestiny, and I've heard some of the explanations, and some of them are quite interesting. I can stand there and share them with you, but I won't, because I think it defeats the purpose, to be honest, right? But even if you were to understand it fully, comprehensively, right, is under having the understanding of that is not going to benefit you in fulfilling the purpose of your existence, right? So what I would say is, let's focus on that most, which is more important, right? Which is that we're here for a limited period of time on this life, right? We don't have an infinite time. We're not here for an eternity. We're alive now. We're going to die, right? Now, if you're here for a small period of time, something deep inside of us almost tells us, okay, why am I here, right? Question of purpose is something that people have asked throughout history. Philosophers, thinkers, one of the core fundamental topics that's been discussed in philosophy generally, right? The purpose of life, meaning of life, what's it all about, right? So on top of this, when we know that this is an integral question to human beings about purpose and meaning, and along with this, we know we're here for a limited period of time, this sort of creates this urgency within the human being to say, okay, I need to find out what that is. I don't have forever to find out, right? It's almost like saying, if you go do shopping and you've got 20 minutes, right? You go to a Tesco or an Asda, you don't have all day there, right? If you have 15-20 minutes, you're going to get your shopping done and you're going to get out of there, right? If you had all day, you will take it easy. You probably sit down, relax for a bit, maybe look around, chat to the receptionist, chat to the cashier, X, Y, Z. But you don't have that luxury, right? So what I would say is, unfortunately, sometimes people delve into topics about God and about religion which don't help facilitate in the fulfillment of their purpose, when we realize we have a limited period of time on this earth. So I would say let's focus on those more fundamental pressing questions first, right? And when it comes to purpose, purpose of life.
For enjoy? Huh? For enjoy? For life. For life.
So, how are you doing?
We say we are here for enjoy. For enjoy our life.
We could say this. Some people say this, but that's something we're telling ourselves at the end of the day, right? It's something like, it's not a universal truth. We're here to enjoy our life, right? You may believe this. This is something you've told yourself, and you've formulated that belief. But someone else may say something totally different, right? What is the objective reality? What is the objective purpose of our existence, right? That's the question. Now, some atheists may argue, well, there is no objective purpose. There is no ultimate purpose. It's just whatever you want it to be. Now, I would say this will be more consistent with the atheist worldview, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all random. It's all just an accident, right? Therefore, if everything is an accident, if life is an accident, there is no objective purpose. It's all random, right? So it makes sense if someone says that.
Yeah, I mean, I hold on to that view to some extent. I don't think there is an inherent purpose. I think what religious people try to do is they try to ascribe purpose.
I would say
to something which inherently is purposeless.
So you would say life is purposeless?
Well, it doesn't have an inherent meaning or inherent purpose, but you make your own purpose from it.
Okay, but when you make your own purpose, you're ascribing purpose to yourself, right? You're giving yourself that purpose. So what you're saying is, I'm gonna make the purpose of my life X, for example.
Yeah, like to work hard, to be rich, or whatever, right? Yeah.
So, for a lack of better way of putting this, in other words, you're just making it up as you go along.
Making your own.
Yeah, you're just making. So, my question will be, number one, if it's all an accident, why do you feel the need to make purpose and have purpose, or even an ascribed purpose? And number two, if you understand that I'll give myself purpose, my purpose is to have money or be rich, for example, then what drives you to fulfill that purpose on atheism or naturalism? Do you see the point?
No, I absolutely understand. It's something that I find hard to reconcile within myself. Even. Yeah. If life is inherently meaningless, why do I, for example, work so hard, or why do I try to become like a better businessman, or become more wealthy? But I mean, it's a purpose that I have. Ascribed to my myself. I haven't. I don't have any, I don't have any reason otherwise.
Yeah.
It's something that I've made up myself. But at the same time, knowing that life is inherently purposeless and that you can live a very different life. You can live a religious life. You can live a life where you don't make much money and you live off the land. But that particular purpose has become my purpose, for example.
But my question: why would you do anything?
Yeah.
Do you see? So, what should have happened? What should have happened if naturalism is true?
Yeah.
Which is that everything can be explained by a physical process,
Yeah.
right? If this worldview is true, many atheists are naturalists, right? I don't know if you're a naturalist as well.
Well, I'm sympathetic to it, but I'm not completely natural. I wouldn't say I am.
Okay. So here's what I would say. Assalamu alaikum, bro. We're going to do another one for you, yeah? If naturalism is true, right? So I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
About purpose, and you're talking about if it's random, then why do we do anything?
Yeah, so if it were true, what should have happened, this was the point, what should have happened was, according to the whole process of evolution, which is evolution, natural selection, X, Y, Z, all of these processes that have led to human life and the development of human life, what should have happened was we should have developed as human beings to survive and reproduce only, right? That's the objective, right? As with all other forms of life, right? So my question would be, why would we end up with faculties which we can use, which lead us to ask questions about meaning and purpose, right? Which, when we think about, for many people, it leads them to anxiety and depression and frustration. Because many people find they go into an existential crisis when they think about these things. And many people commit suicide.
This is very common in atheists.
Yeah, exactly. And this
very common in atheists.
Philosophers wrote about this. They wrote essays on suicide, right? So the point is, why would it doesn't make sense that a process which is geared towards survival and reproduction would result in faculties that emerge, right, that allow us to now think about questions about purpose and meaning, and when we reflect upon them, lead us to anxiety and depression, and even to suicide eventually, which inevitably defeat the purpose of existence, of survival. Right? Do you see the point?
No, I absolutely see the point.
So it's almost a contradiction, which is, we have evolved, according to naturalism, we have evolved to survive and reproduce, right? But we've ended up with abilities to ask questions about meaning and purpose, right? And when we do this, it leads to depression and anxiety, which sometimes leads to suicide in some cases, or in other cases, isolation, right? And again, which is counter to survival and reproduction. So the process which was initially geared towards survival and reproduction ends up resulting in not survival and reproduction, right? So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
No, and this has made me develop a more respect for religion or the religious perspective in more recent times.
There must be something else going on, right?
Well, that you cannot reduce the human simply to a monkey or a gorilla. You just cannot, because there are other things there, like you mentioned. There's that search. There's that kind of yearning for meaning.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is that I maintain that this is just the human being's way to deal with his anxieties, with his lack of security within the world, is to find a meaning. For you it's Islam, for another it might be something else. And the kind of worldview that I maintain is that this is just another way of trying to deal with our anxieties. It's not...
The only way we will say it differently, so what I would say, when I look at the same reality, is that, as like you said, as human beings, we are inquisitive. We have this desire to search for purpose and meaning. What I would say Islam gives a beautiful account of this human state, which is that God created us with a purpose, and to aid us and help us in finding that purpose in this life, this short life, He put within us certain, if you like, Allah